The Pulse of Spokane is a broad show that showcases many different things in our community, sponsored by Local 29 Firefighters Union, Well Dressed Walrus, and Homes for You.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Pulse of Spokane. I'm your host, Brodie, and I'm joined today by Kim Schafer of Hope. And I'm not going to say project this time.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
Good, really good. Thank you for having me here.
Good. How's the weather treating you? I know it's been hot lately, but today is a bit overcast.
It is. I guess it's a good day to work.
I love
Indoors.
it. I don't like the heat, so.
I love the heat. I love being at the lake. It's my happy place.
I like being at the lake too, but I overheat quick. So the Hope, not Project, Hope. What does that stand for?
So it's Spokane Hope,
Yes.
Hearing Oral Program of Excellence.
All right.
And that name represents the sole focus on birth to 5 children in our community who are deaf and hard of hearing. And the history behind it is that there were children getting cochlear implants and not having a program to go to maximize that, critical auditory brain development window. And so a whole group of professionals and parents in this community got together and started a program that was focused on these children so that when they graduate from Hope,
Yes.
after preschool, then they are able to go out into the community and their mainstream programs and vie right alongside their hearing peers.
That's really important out there because there's not a lot of people that are aware of deaf culture in general. It's kind of something that gets thrown under the rug a lot, I think, especially after taking classes on it. It's kind of, you start to learn about it and you're sitting there like, man, I never knew this. And you have to have an interest in it in order to actually learn anything about it. It's kind of hard to find.
Right. I will tell you my favorite quote. It's Helen Keller, and it talks about blindness separates a person from things.
Yes.
But deafness separates people from people. That's huge.
It is huge because obviously hearing people take their hearing for granted. You don't think about, you don't think about it until you really get into deaf culture and learning ASL, or even if you're in a different country learning their version of sign language. You don't think about the fact that, man, if I couldn't hear, I couldn't listen to the music I like. I wouldn't be able to hear those footsteps of the enemy running up behind me in my video games. You don't think about it. Blindness, you're like, a lot of people ask about blindness because they're like, what do they, see? What is their visual representation like? Nobody thinks about, man, what would it be like to be deaf if I wouldn't be able to be sitting here talking to you?
Right.
Because I wouldn't be able to hear you.
Well, I will tell you the first emotion that you feel when the doctor says that your child is deaf, and this is personal experience.
Yes.
And it's something I'll never forget, is that your mind goes to, how will they ever be able to hear me say I love you? How will they communicate in this world? And it is a hearing world. We have to be honest about that. Sign language is brought up a lot, and it's a beautiful language, and it's very important. But when you do a poll of the audience, you will find that the majority of the people have no experience at all of sign language. We hear, we speak. It's our first language. And so, of course, as a parent, when our first language in our home is spoken language, that's what we want for our child.
Yes.
Thankfully, we've come a long ways in being able to bring that.
There's relatively big programs. I know in the falls, because that's where I attend, there's relatively big programs for the hearing people learning sign language. And I can't remember her name for the life of me, but one of the teachers is deaf, and she has a
Interpreter.
Interpreter. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word.
I think it's Melissa Palant.
Yeah, she has an interpreter for like the first 2 weeks of her class, and then it's all sign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's submersion.
Yeah, well,
right.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
So I try to, I myself try to talk and sign it every once in a while. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know one, it's relatively easy to Google a sign you don't know. But
right. Well, I will tell you that our program, we start at the age of diagnosis, the time of diagnosis,
Yes.
and that can be as early as 6 weeks old. We have a teacher of the deaf who comes into the program, so she'll receive a referral, and she goes into the home with that family. And one of the tools that she will use with most of those families is sign language as a bridge. And or it could be full communication. There's a wide variety of those children. Currently, she's providing services to about 38 babies, and that's just Spokane County, all with hearing loss. There are some that have unilateral hearing loss, which is one ear only, all the way up to being deaf.
Okay.
For a baby who is deaf, and their child wants them to be able to hear, there is a gap window between when they're diagnosed and when they're able to get a cochlear implant for them to be able to hear.
Okay.
And typically it's been about a year old here in Spokane. Some of it, the age is going down, but that's still a window that they don't have access to sound. So sign language is a wonderful communication tool to bridge that gap and keep that child from being frustrated. That's what
Yeah.
we saw with our child. When she only had sign, it was really frustrating because the kids in the cul-de-sac, they were all hearing children. Not one of them knew any sign language. And once she got that cochlear implant and was able to make sense of the sounds that she was hearing, her world turned 360 degrees. The independence and the confidence that she had because she was able to intermingle in her world. It was off the charts.
Well,
Amazing. And that's what's possible for these kids today.
Well, you'd stated before we got on here that we live in an auditory world.
Mm-hmm.
For people who are hearing, it's like, just try to imagine what it would be like to just not, to lose that sense all of a sudden. What?
Well, just as an experiment, people should put earplugs in.
Yes.
If you put earplugs in and go about your day, you'll end up with maybe a mild to moderate hearing loss. It won't take you into the deafness, but it will be incredibly challenging because you're not going to hear like you typically would, and you're going to be exhausted by the end of the day from working so hard to fill those pieces in on what you think you heard and what actually was said.
Yes, that's huge. So back to Hope. So you were talking about the importance of getting to them right after diagnosis, because even just a young age up until your 20s-ish, when you kind of stop developing in the brain. I don't know what the exact age is.
It's 5 or 6.
Is it 5 or 6?
5 or 6.
I thought it was like, I thought you stopped your growth.
The
way
brain
later.
neurons are firing, and if they're not used, then they get trimmed off.
Oh, okay.
And so you don't have the same success with the technology. So my husband and I had a camp in the past in Ellensburg.
Okay.
We were speaking about our daughter's experience of having had meningitis at 2 months old, and at 3 years old, finally getting over the fear of the surgery and giving her a cochlear implant. And this deaf man got upset, and he said, "Why would you not let them make their own decision, like at 8 years old?" Well, I will tell you, typically, if you let them, or if you held a child off and you didn't give them the advancements that were available today,
Yes.
and at 8 years old, now you give them a cochlear implant, those auditory nerves have not been stimulated all those years. They may still hear something with that cochlear implant,
Yes.
but they're not going to understand it to the level that they would when they were little, had they had it, and their speech is not going to be to the level that it could be. We have children now that are coming out of our program having access since diagnosis, our in-home program, our on-site toddler listening and spoken language program, and our preschool program that are going off to their mainstream programs at kindergarten, and you cannot tell the difference between them and a hearing child. They're
Yes.
deaf children with cochlear implants, but their speech is that good, and their hearing is that good with technology.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
The technology is crazy. I mean, think about that. This is a child who cannot hear, and you give them a small device, and they can hear.
Well, they can't
Well,
hear.
okay.
That's
Not
why Hope's
snap.
here.
Not snap. Yeah, no. But like, it gives them the opportunity to be able to, probably a really bad way to put it, fit in with the normality of being able to hear and communicate. And it's a little underappreciated because, obviously you want them to learn to speak, because not a lot of people are going to go out there and learn ASL. A lot of people that do it are people who have personal experience into it. I myself, my father, as a fireman, he knows it. It has helped him with many patients. My aunt knows sign language. So I was like, well, maybe I can give it a shot. Maybe it'll be fun. But somebody who doesn't have that experience with a deaf person, so a deaf family member at all, won't appreciate the value of knowing ASL, as well as the struggle that some of them can go through to be able to understand what we're going at. Because even some of them that don't have the cochlear,
Cochlear.
the cochlear implant, they learn to read lips, which I've looked at before. You look at I've tried to watch somebody's lips when I'm talking to them, and I'm like, if I couldn't hear them, I have no clue what they're saying.
Well, and they say that, I've heard people over and over talk about, oh my gosh, yeah, they're deaf, but they understand through reading lips.
Yes.
It's about 30%. So imagine, just like you were talking about sign language and how 20 words, and if you can grasp maybe 10, then you can understand what they're saying.
Yes.
That's what they're doing when they are lip reading. They are filling in the blanks continually because they're not understanding everything. And imagine the way our lips are.
Yes.
We've got mustaches, we've got beards, we've got people who, they talk like this, they don't even open their mouth, or they talk way too big. There's such a variety of, people's personalities really comes out. And so it makes it super challenging. We used to, when my daughter was deafened at 2 months old, so this is 25 years ago, they taught lip reading. They sat across from us. They encouraged us to sit across from them. They encouraged the speech therapist sat across. So they really relied on lip reading. Now it's such a wonderful, natural setting. The kids are on the teacher's laps, the instructional assistant in the classroom. They're sitting next to the speech therapist. They're in a much more natural setting, as are all the other kids, just in life itself in general, right? But they're speaking to their technology, not to their faces. That's how you and I can look over here and have a conversation. I don't have to look right at you. You have nice eyes, so of course I'm going to look at you, Brodie. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, we look away. I look around and I continue to talk, and we need to be sure that those kids are continuing to understand what we're saying, even though we're not looking at them.
Yes. That was one huge thing I actually learned while I was in ASL 121 and 122 is when you're doing it, to look. You got to keep your, look at who you're talking to or signing to, dare say. Because I think a undervalued part of learning ASL is actually not just in your hand movement itself, in your face. Mm-hmm. Because you can go from being like, oh, I'm sleepy, to I'm out.
Right.
Just by the fact of me kind of closing my eyes or just closing my eyes entirely.
So imagine, you're talking a lot about sign language, and I'm bringing it back over to listening and spoken language, but imagine how much you garner from a person's intonations in their voice. So it's very similar. I can be talking along and, I'm pretty mundane right now, but then I can talk and I'm really animated and you can just hear the excitement in my voice and oh my gosh, then, oh my gosh. And yes, my facial expression, but my voice as well, right, is expressing that. So for a child to be able to grow up and without seeing their parents be able to tell, oh my, Mom just said my name and it did not sound happy.
I'm at the point in my life I can tell by the footsteps sometimes.
So Hope's in its just finishing up its 16th year. We've been around a long time. We are, as I said prior, solely focused on supporting the bright futures of deaf, hard of hearing children in our community. We're the only program, and this is the entire 16 years, the only program that is a 501c3 and focused on birth to 5 and listening and spoken language.
Okay.
I think I said earlier that we had 38 children that she's seeing currently in the Birth to 3 program. Not all of them will be candidates to come into our toddler group and then move on to our preschool program. And some of that is physical. They've got medical, physical disabilities that they won't be able to necessarily benefit from hearing technology, or they won't be able to, some have trachs. So even though they wear hearing aids, they won't be able to speak.
Yeah.
So there's a variety of reasons why. But this last year we had 17 children in our preschool program. We have an AM and a PM. And we have an amazing benefit that our toddler program is partially funded, contracted through the Spokane Regional Health District, Infant Toddler Network, and they have 5 service providers that refer out to us. So we're the only one. When a child is diagnosed as deaf and hard of hearing, Spokane Hope is where they make that call, where that referral goes. So we're building a lot of bright futures. Pretty darn proud of our success.
You're giving kids with a disability the opportunity to live a normal life, be able to, run and play with the other kids and not have to worry about not hearing any of it. You're giving them that opportunity, and that's huge. That's huge. I don't even think huge begins to describe it, because you can't. Obviously, again, back to the auditory world, you cannot undersell the idea of just how important it is to be able to hear, and the fact that you're able to give these kids an opportunity to have that when life didn't is just, it's massive. You can't say it's not.
Right. Well, we have pretty incredible success rates among our kids, our alumni. We have deaf children that are out there as ASB officers, standing up in front of a mic, giving a presentation to their entire school. We've got some of our first alumni are out there, and they're deaf with cochlear implants, and they're at Valley Tech. Going to be maybe an engineer or a biomed student, and vying for a scholarship, and they have to present to a panel of judges.
That's quite the feat on its own.
And they're able to be and do that themselves confidently and independently. They're able to sit around that table with their peers that they're on this team with and have a full conversation back and forth, understand what's being said, and be understood. That's incredible.
Yes.
A couple of things I'd love to kind of share while we're here. Just our opportunities, if anybody's out there listening and they want to know more about it. We love to give tours. Unfortunately, during this COVID period, we lost the last 3 months of our school, and we're hoping, knock on wood, that will be open in the fall, because we are small and we're putting those protocols in place. But we'd love to have people come and see the kids, see our program. But we do have a major fundraiser that we have every year, and this is our 9th year. It's called Hoedown for Hope, and I brought a little pamphlet. And last year, our 8th year, we raised $230,000 profit. That's
wow.
Huge. Speaking of the word huge, which I do like that word, it's huge for a little program like ours. And that just, to me, shows how this community has wrapped their arms and their hearts around the children that are here, and helping them get be able to capitalize on the futures that they deserve. This year, our event is on October 10th. And so we'll have our event, but it will be virtual. So we would strongly encourage people to go to our website and check out what we have. It's going to be a fun. Everybody has always said it's a super fun event. It is, as I said, it's our only major event, our only large public fundraiser. And the amount of money that was raised equivalates to about 1/3 of our operating budget. So it's a critical event, and we can't not do it without it this year. So if there's anybody out there that has something, whether it's a business and they would like to donate, would like to be a sponsor, or they have items that will help us raise money, or certainly signing up to register and join in the fund. We'd absolutely love that. So,
Well, is there a
that is one of
website
the
they can
things.
reach out through?
Our website is www.spokanehope.org,
All right.
and then on their events is Hoedown for Hope. So,
Well, that sounds like a wonderful thing. And I'm glad there's people out there that are doing what they can to help. Well, it's been wonderful having you on. It's been great to talk to somebody else who has familiarity in the idea of ASL and helping them to hear. Like, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but it's been wonderful having you on. We are short on time, so we'll have to cut it off. But thank you for coming.
yes, thank you for having me.
That
Really
will do
appreciate
it. That will do it for this edition of The Pulse. Catch you next time.
Thanks for watching. Ask the host a question, recommend a guest, or check out any of our other programs on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com. Sponsored by Local 29 Firefighters Union, Well Dressed Walrus, and Homes for You.